creativity is showcased in its many dimensions. A time to celebrate, empower, inspire, and equip creatives with thought-provoking interviews and up-to-date information.
We celebrate creativity in its many dimensions. I have to say this every week because I know every week I have new people joining, and it would be nice for them to find out what do we do here. Well, this is where we showcase creativity, breathe creativity, live creativity, embrace creativity, enjoy creativity. And as you may know by now, my favorite, we celebrate creativity. It is a platform where we come together, creatives come together, and we just empower, enrich one another, our past, our present, our future, our ongoings. All of that we explore on this platform. Now, if you're not following me on social media, this is the time to go to @theplaceofexcellence, where you will find out all about what's happening on this show, plus much more. Now, today I am going to be exploring another form of creativity, something that is not spoken about that much. Surprise, surprise, it's something that impacts our lives one way or the other. Even sometimes we don't even know it, because we're going to be talking about gardening, a hobby that now became a passion, that became a business. So I am so excited, and I'm also excited because she is my first international guest all the way from Nigeria, and her presence is felt within the nation. She has a flower farm in Jos, a garden in Abuja, and I believe her branch is in Kaduna. And this is the northern part of Nigeria, and we will be delving into much more as I have a great conversation with my guest. Now, what intrigues me the most is her transition. Her transition from obtaining a MBA with a specialism in banking and finance, becoming a chartered accountant and a member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, to opening up her own business, which she now calls Tina's Garden in 2018. What a transition. I believe that's giving you a taster. It's giving you something that we're going to be looking forward to throughout the hour. And as always, I have a word, but this time I've got two because I couldn't help myself. And my two words are balance and transferable skills. And we're going to weave this as we talk to my guest. And I'm now going to officially welcome her, Justina Golo. You correct me if I didn't pronounce it right, popularly known as Tina. You are welcome.
Thank you so much, Shola.
I bet the weather is lovely where you are. It's lovely here as well. So I'm going to delve right in because there's going to be a lot of questions that I have for you based on my introduction. But first of all, I want to start with the very simplest question. Where and when did your love for gardening start?
Well, my love for gardening, I think, dates back to when I was a little girl. You see, my mom used to have farms, and she goes to the farm. She used to be a nurse, but she always goes to farm weekends and evenings. And my younger sister and I will always follow her to the farm. I think that was where I got the green fingers, as in I loved to see things green, flourish, nurture. Then after, when I finished school and I got married in 2000, I started collecting plants. Immediately I got married, I moved to Lagos, my new life. I started collecting plants. My first Christmas, I wanted a live plant, so I went out to look for a live plant and I kept it. I remember my husband then telling me, why didn't you buy a rubber plant? I'm like, no, I want a live plant. He said, there are plants everywhere. You didn't have to invest money to buy this. You can plug it on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And we just laughed over it, But I started collecting plants around my house in Apapa. There are a few gardens, and I always love to visit them. I go and sit down there. So I can say from the year 2000, I started collecting my plants till I had so much. I moved from Lagos to Kaduna, and I love to collect exotic palms and exotic plants. And I was learning in the process. My house was my first garden and my first presentation, So I learned a lot on the job, going online, checking how to take care of some plants in Nigeria and what will feed our weather. I can say that as a child from my mother's farm those days.
Wow. What a very amazing story. It's quite amazing that as we grow up, we don't even have an idea of how much our surroundings have an impact on us, or how that that in itself would be something that would now be part of our lives in our later years. And I bet your husband is now going, okay, great choice. Great choice. You did it. Now, I'm going to be asking later, because when we talk about Nigeria, you think that do people really have time for gardening? But we will just hold that thought. We will talk about that later, because I really want my listeners to have an idea of the difference between plants and flowers, because you did say you have a flower farm and you also have plants. We kind of bung them. Well, I bung them together. Share some lights. I was looking at your ZZ plants on your social media. I've gone there. I've gone looking.
There's what we call house plants and the normal plants. Those are the ones you think that you see that have the foliage. They have the green leaves. You plant them, you nurture them, you see them grow. Those are plants. But when we talk about flowers, those are cut flowers. The blooms now is from the plants that you get the blooms, and those are cut flowers. They are freshly kept and they are perishable. You can keep them in water to preserve them, to have a longer lifespan. That is what we use for things like wedding bouquets, for occasions, tabletop arrangements. We use them for funerals, for birthdays. Those are fresh cut flowers. You see roses. So when you say flowers, a lot of people call plants flowers. Oh, I love your house. It's full of flowers. Yes, it's full of flowers, but they are more full of plants. Green everywhere with different foliage. Like the ZZ you call, it is a plant, and is an indoor plant, or a plant that loves shady environment. It doesn't thrive well under the direct sunlight.
Wow. Well,
so
as I said, this show is really about educating as well and entering into your world. So now when I start talking about plants and flowers, I'll be more educational, and people will think, yes, she knows what she's talking about. I've been speaking to you, Tina. As you said, your journey started, you enjoyed flowers, you loved plants, you started to nurture them, you started to educate yourself. And then you decided in 2018 that things were going to change. You were going to move from just enjoying this to doing this for other people. Talk me through the inspiration behind you deciding now to step out. What was the catalyst?
Okay, so when I moved to Kaduna, I have a 8-to-5 job that I decided to take because my business then in Lagos was buying and selling. From the banking industry, I went into buying and selling, and I was importing goods. So when I came to Kaduna, I didn't really understand the selling technique here. So I stopped buying and selling, and I was just doing my 8-to-5 job. Over time, I kept asking God, what should I do? Because I needed like a multiple streams of income. And I give people my plants. I'm happy to do it without being paid for. So I took a visit to my mom's friend in Abuja, and she has a garden. She sells plants. So we're just discussing, and I decided to show her my collection. Especially then, I had a lot of cactus and succulents, and any opportunity I have to travel out, I bring in a lot of plants. So immediately I showed her. She was like, Tina, this is a lot of money you're sitting on. I said, you mean it? And I just realized then that I've encouraged 2 or 3 people to sell plants in Kaduna, and I kept encouraging them, sell these things. I'm ready to travel, bring bags of plants for them. But I didn't look at it as something I should be doing, So she just opened, that was just the pop in my eye, just opened us in, and that's true. And now she said, if you need any guide, you just talk to me. I said, I was glad. And when I came back home, a friend of mine, at times God just puts things in place in a puzzle to fit. A friend of mine, his wife just sent me a link that her sister is doing a free online selling workshop on WhatsApp. So I keyed into it, and I just attended her 1-hour training, and that was it. That's why, because my location was not really in town, and I needed to sell well. So the first thing that came to me was to sell online, and that thing was an eye opener. Of course, I kept educating myself, but that was how I started. I just started selling online.
Fantastic. Now, I was actually going to pick on your online, and I'm going to again hold that thought, because I'm going to come back to that, because I know that is also a big part of what you do. So I don't want to brush over it. But there were 2 things you said that I picked up on. Number one, you were helping other people, but because it's something you enjoyed doing, it didn't click click that, you know what, I can make money out of this. And that really sits well with my own signature program, which is where I help people turn their hobbies into money, because people have hobbies, have passion, but because they enjoy, they don't think that they can earn from it. And yours is a real typical, I mean, from what you've said, example of that. And then number two, the fact that you stepped out. The moment the light bulb went off, you stepped out. Then I know that people say when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. And the teacher obviously did show up for you. I'm going to read something that you said in your bio, and then maybe you can give me some meat to that. You said that one of your quests is to see that people have a thriving garden.
Yeah.
And I know that as a business person, you studied business management, and I studied business and management as well. And I know some of the things they teach us is that we need to be able to solve a problem, add value to our clients, and yes, rightfully so, make profit. So that statement, your quest to make sure that people had a thriving garden, what did that look like? What problem were you solving, and what value were you adding to them?
Okay, so what I noticed is like people love a beautiful house with flowers. Somebody can come to my house and say, I just love this place. I want you to come and transform my house like that. And people invest their money. And after a while, you go and the flowers are not doing well. Maybe they would have lost half or more, or some they've even lost everything and have just lost it. Oh, my gardener is not doing well. Oh, something went wrong. I don't even want this because I bought it and it has died. So I realized that the beauty of gardening is a process, and I needed to educate people, to encourage them to know that gardening is not something that you can just take like an ornament and just keep in your sitting room and it's there. Only you do is clean the dust. So I love to advise people on how to go about maintaining certain plants, locations to keep certain plants in their environment. Like if you tell me you're in Borno State now, I know that it's very sunny and hot. There are a lot of plants that might not really do well there unless you create a form of greenhouse for them or some of cooling environment for them. So that's what brought my quest for helping people to have a thriving garden that is always looking beautiful. Even though you might lose one or two plants in the process, is a learning process, but you will know where to place plants. And so I love advising people on how to keep their plants and the kind of plant that fits their environment.
Wow, wow, wow. That was so rounded. And what I took, the key for me that I took that is also transferable is the beauty of gardening is a process. It's not a quick fix. It's not like the flowers that over 3, 4, 5 or 7 days and after they're gone, it's short-lived. That is such a powerful statement. Do you mind telling us where they can key on to find you?
I am on Instagram as Tina's Place, Gardens and More. And I'm also on Instagram as Tina's Fresh Flowers. So I now distinct the two types, the flowers and the plants. Then I'm also on Facebook as Tina's Place, Gardens and More. So these are the places you could find me.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
Now, I wanted to find out, because I've had a couple of conversations with Tina before the interview, and she's always in the garden. So I think it's appropriate for me to find out, what is your day, your week? What does it look like work-wise? What are the highlights of your day, your week?
Right now, I can say this season of my life is a very busy schedule. I have 4 kids. 2 of them are in college. So the last 2 are with me. So at the beginning of the day, after praying and everything, is to get them set for school. So when I get them set for school, I drop them off and I branch to check how the plants are doing shortly, just for a short while. And I come back home to get ready. I still do an 8 to 5 job. And after work, that is when I start my gardening.
Wow.
And gardening is something that you can do from home. So at times I find myself very early in the morning. I can wake up and I'm tendering to plants around the house, checking on things. before I go out. So when I come back in the evenings, I drop them, I move to my garden. And there are days that you might have one or two clients want to come in while you in the daytime. I could just breeze in there maybe during break time and put an appointment to just check. But once I enter the garden in the evening, I do a lot of work, a lot of snapping of pictures, a lot of checking of plants. And then when I sit at night, I begin to post them and I begin to write about them. And immediately I will start having responses. So I'll walk through them before morning. If you're really interested, before morning, we could finish closing our transactions. And the next day I'll make arrangement to dispatch. So basically I'm the driver, I'm the gardener, I'm the accountant, and the cook and everything you can think of. You know how mothers are.
This is amazing. So, I mean, I'm going to be talking about balance in a bit because you've actually opened that up in terms of how you do what you do. So I can see that I was really led to choose those words, balance and transferable skills. I'm going to say wow again. Now, in everything, there are usually and I'm focusing now on the gardening itself and that side of the business. What are the challenges that come with that territory in terms of, do the flowers always behave? A challenge that you can remember that makes you go, what am I doing, or what's going on, and how do you conquer those?
Okay, let me talk about the challenge I had this year because of water shortage. Without water, there's no garden. And I had water shortage. I think they said the water level went too low and the source of our water really went down. So it was water shortage. So I found myself moving a lot of plants into my house, even from the garden. Like I took a day and I kept moving plants because I had more constant water where I live. And that movement too cost a lot, but that was how I was able to revive some plants. Another thing again with our weather is that during the hot season or when the rains are out, the plants are prone to different types of diseases. And that happens to a lot of people that invest money in plants. So plants need treatment. You just can't keep plants and not treat them. It's just like keeping clothes and not washing them, or having a baby and not giving the baby multivitamins. So those are the challenges, the diseases that can attack plants in tropical environments like ours, and then water shortage was some of the things I can really mention.
That is real food for thought, because I was going to ask that, what tips do you give somebody who's listening and going the same way you advised somebody else previously, going, I really like this. You've given them food for thought. But just starting off, I mean, you did mention in the beginning that you just did it for you. Would there be one tip or two that you would give anybody who loves gardening and anybody who may want to start gardening as a profession?
Like I always say, plant a garden today, you believe in tomorrow. Since I saw that quote, I always quote it. If you believe in tomorrow, you can always have a garden, and anybody can do that. You don't have to have a large garden. You can have a collection of few plants in your rooms, plants in your sitting rooms, and plants outside your house. The first thing I will tell you to make sure you get right is the soil compost of whatever you're going to plant. Different plants require different types of soil. It's not just getting soil off the road by a roadside gardener or getting soil from your house and just use it. And then treating your soil and feeding it well. Then one thing I'm even learning myself and I'm telling people is you don't have to use big containers. It takes a lot of soil because if you need good soil, you might need to invest some money in it. So get reasonably sized containers that are easily managed. Even with the shortage of water I had, I'm reducing a lot of my sizes to little containers so that during the dry season, I can always maintain it well. So look at the plants that fit your environment. Do you want office plants? That's indoor plants, plants in your sitting room or outdoor. Then get good soil compost, study them. Like I always say, the internet is there to teach you so many things. Even if you go on Google Lens and snap a plant, it will tell you the name. And from there, you could find out how to take care of it. And even if how to maintain it if you're struggling with it. And again, if you want to keep plants in your house, it will tell you this is good indoor. A lot of people like plants that have flowers. that have blooms and they want to take it into their house. So I find myself telling them, you don't need it. But I want to buy it unless you're keeping it where the sun is. So these are things that people can go into and get educated. And I always tell my customers, pick one plant a month. You don't have to pick plants at once and get overwhelmed. Pick one plant a month. You can pick like the ZZ family. You can pick Calathea. You can pick palms. And by December, you have 12 plants. And by December, I guess you know how to maintain 12 plants. And you can know which one thrives in your house and which one, you can continue to add more in the family of plants that you've picked.
That is loaded. I hope people are listening because this is real free content, rich content that you have given us today. Thank you so much. You talked about your online business. You talked about how you started that off and you do a lot of that now. So one of my thoughts or my questions is, how do you do a floral online business? Because transportation would be key to people. I mean, not giving away how you do it, but that is a brave step because I think it involves a whole different dynamic, except you are just doing it locally. And I know you have different farms in different parts of the north. How does that work?
Okay, for now, I use the local transport to send my goods. And I can say that's a challenge. I too am working on the best way to solve it. The places that I can send plants by air or my flowers by air is easier. Though in this business, the customer bears the cost of transporting it. But for the goods to arrive in good shape, it's another thing. So at times, there are locations I use road. Like my garden in Kaduna, I send out by road to places near me. But to places in Lagos, I try to stick to sending it by air. Then my flower farm in Jos is for blooms, is for arrangements. So we do like rates. We do fresh flowers bouquet. We send out for different parts of the country. And it's not really been so bad because one location that we find it difficult is like the East. And so what we do is we go very early in the morning and put it in the buses. You pay for like a seat. And of course, you keep monitoring. They last long. They do last long. There's a way we package them and they will arrive very fresh. We also have people that buy from us to sell. So we have customers like this in a few locations and the complaint is really minimal to say our flowers did not arrive well or they were not fresh. So we still use the local transport around, but mainly by air where possible.
Wow. Honestly, I'm so glad I'm having this conversation with you because it has totally transformed my thinking around plants, around flowers. I won't look at them the same way again. Now, as I said, I'm going to quickly go back to the word balance. Do you have time to unwind? I mean, it's intriguing that you told me as well that you still have a regular job and then you do this. Do you unwind and how do you unwind if you do at all?
Yeah, I do. Most Sundays are mine. And most weekends, there are weekdays, I don't even step into the garden. I walk around, do more of the gardening at home, especially if I have to stay behind maybe to tend to the kids with lesson teachers and things like that. But most weekends, I try to have it to myself. On Saturdays, I don't really go out to the garden till maybe around 12. And I attend to the customers that will come because mainly I attend to online customers. And if I have to package things to go out, or I have an appointment, somebody calls, she's coming into the garden or he is coming into the garden, then I will be there. But most Sundays are mine. I love to go for first service so that from 10 o'clock, I know I will be at home and I love to eat, sleep and take care of myself. It's only when it's necessary that I have to go out. I visit families, friends. They do come and visit. I have birthdays, functions, and when I go, I try to forget about anything and just have fun.
I would really say that you have not only defined balance, you actually practice balance. I'm going to just quickly give you the definition. It says balance is a state of equilibrium that involves finding a middle ground between opposing forces or factors and achieving stability and harmony in different aspects of our life. And I think you've just given us a sound example of that.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
I did tell you earlier that I have two words, and my second word is transferable skills. And I would like to explore this a bit further. Now, I was looking at the definition of transferable skills, and one that kind of ticked my box said transferable skills refers to a set of skills, abilities, and knowledge that can be applied across different jobs, industries, and contexts. These skills are transferable because they are not specific to a particular role or job, but can be used in a variety of settings. You have a degree in business and management, and you went on to do your MBA and your finance. What transferable skills do you think you've learned from that journey that you've put in and has worked in your business venture?
My profession has impacted a lot in my business because my business came from a passion. So it was very difficult to define profit making than to doing a charity work for me. And it was very difficult to define, before giving out plans was so easy. Oh, I'll propagate it for you. I'll give you, I love this. Okay, after some time. So I started this business and I still continued it. I could go do work for you, not even thinking of charging. I'm ready to really do it for free. It got to a point I was investing a lot because, of course, I was buying plants. I was tendering to them and maintaining them. And I wasn't really breaking even as in making the profit. So I had to define it and I had to bring my skills into it. I had to have a statement of financial position at the end of a season for my business, or have at least a balance sheet that I'll be able to define what are my expenses this season, what are my income, and what are the things I need to work at. So I know that the accounting skills have impacted my business because it helped me to balance and to be able to bring it out. Another thing that helped me in the profits of my business is the business administration. As to how to maintain my customers, how to keep them, how to improve on my customer relationship, and most importantly, how to tell myself that I'm in business for profit. And if I'm in business for profit, I need to do this business the right way with the right policies and the right sense of it. So all my human capital management, the staff, how I deal with them, the expense, it's a work in progress, but I can say I've improved because my profession has impacted on my business.
Again, another amazing answer. Not to talk about communication skills, negotiation skills, marketing skills. All of them also would add much value from the learnings that you've done in the past. I'm intrigued by the fact that you are a chartered accountant and you've had mentioned a bit of how the financial bit has helped you. But I don't know whether I'm being nosy here. What does the Chartered Institute of Taxation, what is that? Because you are a member of that institute.
Okay, so there's what we call tax in every government. And I know you, so maybe from where you are, you understand what tax is. It's a compulsory payment to the government that is imposed by law without direct benefit or return of value or a service, whether it is called tax or not. So this compulsory payment is being done on individuals and companies. And in Nigeria, there is a body that trains people to be able to be qualified. And basically, they are accountants that go through it. So the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, it's a body that takes care of tax, people that are qualified with tax qualification and to manage tax activities of companies. So basically, that is what the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria is about.
Fantastic. Thank you. That has educated me further, and it also has educated other people. My final question would be, what tips would you have for small businesses in area of finances? Because we all struggle in that area. Small businesses generally find it difficult. What are some of the strengths based on the fact that you've got financial background? You're very current. What would you say to any small business that's maybe just starting off or is in it and are struggling?
Okay, the first thing I would say for any small business is that your first 2 years are your teething period. Don't kill yourself because your profit is not coming out. No, there's an investment time and there are teething periods. You can make mistakes this season. You can correct yourself and just keep going. Then you need to keep stock of whatever you're doing in whatever business you're doing. It might be difficult. I remember somebody telling me, you want to count a garden. I said, no, I want to have an idea of what I have on ground because that is what helps me to monitor it. You have to do what they call stock taking. It's even easier for other businesses that are not like gardening. You have to have stock taking. You have to know what you have on ground, what's the cash you have at bank, and what are the goods you have on ground. These are your two assets, what you have as income. Then you need to be able to bring out profit out of your business. So you need to know all your expense and you need to know all your income. That will help you in your pricing. Because in pricing your product, you just can't jump and say, A is selling it 1 naira. I have to sell it 1 naira. Or let me sell it 90 kobo because I want to beat that person. No, you have to put a lot of things into consideration before you come up with your pricing. But once you keep records for at least 6 months, you will have a guide on how you're going. And then you will start making profits gradually. And remember that there's seed and there's fruit in every business. The mistake I have made in time past is that I eat my seed and I eat the fruits. But now I try to sow the seed and I try to eat the fruits. Thank you.
Wow. I think I'm just going to have a follow-up question from that. Can you just very briefly unpack the seed and the fruit? Give us an example of how you will actually really do that.
Okay, if I have a plant and I bought that plant 10 naira and I have to resell it, I tendered for it. Maybe I bought it at a seedling and I tendered for it after a period and I know approximately maybe I spent 50 kobo to fix it. That means I have 10 naira, 50 kobo expense. Then I sell these plants maybe 12 naira or 15 naira. The difference is like I have 4 naira, 50 kobo as my profit. I don't have 15 naira to eat. Oh, I made sales of 100,000 today. What is the seed in that 100,000? You shouldn't go into you squandering your money thinking that's the profit. There's a profit factor in that. That is the fruits. And that is what you can expense in maybe your own salary, your personal things. But you should be able to plow back your seed into your business to bring more fruits.
Amazing.
I hope I explained.
You have. I'm glad that I asked that question. And I think I've said the last question, but I'm tempted to ask another one and then we go on our final break. Did mention that you've got, because again, this is about transferable skills. You said you've got branches in different parts of the country. How does teamwork play for you in terms of all communicating with everybody? How does that work? Is it a challenge? Have you got it sourced or you're still working on it?
For me, I thank God that there's a mobile phone that makes things easy now for us in the country. So I have people that manage my business in Jos and in Abuja. And I try to monitor on phone. But like I always say, human capital is a challenge because I have a different ideology. I have different goals, and I'm trying to impact it on my staff to have the same objective with me, which is difficult to change the mindset of people. But gradually we're getting there with phones. You know, what I do in Jos is different from what I do in Kaduna and Abuja, completely different. So what I do in Jos is to arrange. I have an order. I send it to you. I have to monitor it. In the morning, are you at the park or airport? Are you sending it? And now I personally monitor all the transfer, the way bill, how it gets there and how it is being picked up. Then I can say I'm blessed with staff to an extent. The people that manage them for me are not doing so badly. So we try to communicate. Anytime you have something that you're not sure of, you can send a message if I'm not accessible or you call me. I'm looking forward to when that will reduce and that will reduce the pressure on me.
That is amazing. And I like what you started off with, the phone, so that in itself is a great asset. And I also like the fact that you were talking about your own values, your own ethos and passing that on to so that's where your community values come into play.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
Now, honestly, before I forget, I need to ask Tina again to tell me where we can find you. Because I know you mentioned it in the beginning, but some people may have joined us later. Where can we find you?
Okay, for those in Nigeria, physically, you can go to our garden. It's along Sani Abacha Road or Sani Abacha Way in Abuja, near Mabushi. Gardens don't really have like signage and numbers, I always say once you Google Tina's Garden, Abuja, it will take you there. Then for Kaduna, we are at number 3 and 5 Umaru Gwandu Road. Is at Malali, Kaduna. Those are my physical locations. Then I have the flower farm in Jos. But the flower farm, we just take out plants. We don't really attend to people in-house. We take out wholesale plants and then arrangements out. That is in Lamingo in Jos. Then on social media, which is where everyone can now go to. I have Tina's Place Gardens and More and Tina's Fresh Flowers. If you go online, you can also Google Tina's Place Gardens and More. It will take you to where we are. You can find us on Facebook too at Tina's Place Gardens and More. So I think these are the places that you can check us out.
I'm just going to say, Tina, you're everywhere. That's my conclusion.
Amen.
And hopefully when I
Amen.
do come to Nigeria, I will definitely come for some therapy within the lovely confines of the garden. Now, in the beginning, earlier, I said gardening is something we all need. And sometimes you don't think about it. And people will be going, what? What does she mean by that? So I decided to do my own little research and find out what are the benefits of gardening. I'm going to mention a few of them, which I believe Tina will agree, disagree, and then I'm going to let her share anything else that she wants to add to some of the things that I've researched. Number one, it says the benefits of gardening is exercise. It says gardening involves a variety of physical activities such as digging, planting, weeding, and pruning, which can provide a moderate workout and help improve overall fitness. It talks about stress relief. Spending time in nature and engaging in gardening activities has been shown to have a calming effect on the mind and reduces stress levels. I'm going to say one more and then I'm going to ask for what's your thoughts on what I've just said and if you have any examples. It says it improves mental health. Gardening has been found to have a positive impact on mental health by reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety and improving overall well-being. Yeah, what are your thoughts so far?
Those are perfect points you have mentioned, Shola. They're really perfect points. You know, during the COVID, when businesses were really going down, I realized a lot of people were going into gardening. People were at home, they were tending to plants, they were cleaning their environment and planting. People had a lot. I knew that was when I planted yams around me, being at home all the time. And it was so rewarding. Gardening really, really takes you off some stress thinking. It's calming. One thing that gardening does to us as individuals is that it gives us hope for tomorrow. I encourage people to keep plants. There are plants that you see, this one is dead, and some people have thrown it at the backyard. And you come when the rains just come and you see something sprouting up. You know, there's always hope. You don't write off something. That's one thing gardening does to someone like me. I see hope when things that are dead come back to life, or when I see plants that I cut and I propagate and I do give them the right environment, and something new just starts coming after some days. One of my programs, like what I do yearly sales in my gardens towards the end of the year. And last year, one woman entered the garden, says somebody gave her our flyer, and she bought some plants. She went home and came back the next morning all excited. She said, I didn't go to bed on time. She said, I used to just be on bed, wondering and thinking, and I was going into depression. But yesterday, I found myself with my security man planting, transplanting, arranging. She came with pictures she snapped at night. And she was like, I want to get more. I've spoken to my sister in Abuja. Can you send to Abuja? And she was all excited. And I told her that take time, take care of your plants, and it will help you appreciate nature and appreciate life. You don't always dwell on your problems. It gives you hope. So those are the benefits that they practically.
Yeah, so it rubber stamps what I've said. And because of time, I'm just not going to go into detail. There's two others. It says that I picked up that I liked as well. It says it's community building. And you've just given an example of that, because now she's on a new level and people come to you. So you literally are, community building. It's educational because I've learned a lot today. It stimulates your mind. It stimulates your thinking. And one thing that we may not have mentioned, I just want a quick input from you, is the environment. The plants do a lot to the environment. It talked about, it deals with them reducing carbon emissions. I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, we have a lot of plants that, purifies the air, that reduces the carbon emission in the air. You have, especially, you mentioned the ZZ plant, so I'm sure it's one plant you know about for this show. So some indoor plants are very good. The sansevieras are good hardy plants. People call them snake plants. People call them mother-in-law's tongue. But they are a family of sansevieras, and they are good indoor plants. The ivies, you can even put some in your bathrooms. The warmth there helps them even do better. It purifies your air. That's for indoor purposes. And imagine outside your house having plants. You will have good environments like recently, we've been having life challenges in Nigeria. And when I sit there in the garden and the breeze is there, you're admiring nature, gardening just gives your environment good air around you.
Wow, wow, wow. Fantastic. I must say that this has been a really interesting interview. I've not only interviewed, I have learned a lot. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. And I know that a lot of people are going to be following and finding about more about what you do, because it's a holistic skill that there's benefits, all round benefits for everybody. So thank you so much.
You have been listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing